To talk with us now about Kosovo as seen from the White House, is White House correspondent Scott Pelley. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning, Charles. In the last few minutes, President Clinton and the Russian President Boris Yeltsin have been talking about the situation at the Pristina airport, where about 200 Russian paratroopers have occupied the airport and are still there this morning. Mr. Clinton was expected to tell the Russian leader that the Russian troops are welcome to participate in the United Nations peacekeeping force, but that they must participate under the command of that UN force. Now, when the Russians dashed to the airport on Saturday night with about 200 troops, as I said, the Russians immediately said that it was all a big mistake and they were going to withdraw those troops right away. Well, this morning, that has changed. The Russians are saying, no, the paratroopers will stay at the airport at Pristina. They are not allowing British forces onto the airport. The British were intending to make the airport their command headquarters. And so now the talks are ongoing as to exactly how all of this will be resolved. The Russians are saying that they want to participate in the UN peacekeeping force, that they're willing to do it under a unified command, but they have some ideas of their own about how that command structure should be laid out. One of the things that the Russians are asking for that they do not have now is their own sector of Kosovo to patrol. So the president is speaking with Boris Yeltsin this morning. High-level talks are going on between both governments. It's still a very delicate situation, and the Russian generals and British generals will be talking again at the airport later today.
We've heard that there are some Americans who have crossed over the border into Kosovo. Have they made any progress from the border itself?
They're rolling right in this morning, Charlie. The sources here at the White House are telling us that American Marines and American U.S. Army soldiers are now on the ground rolling into Kosovo. They will be part of a 7,000-man force of Americans in the American sector, which is being set up on the eastern side of that province. We are also told by sources here at the White House this morning that the Serb withdrawal from Kosovo is proceeding right on schedule, and at this point, they believe about 25% of all the Serbian forces that were in Kosovo have now left. Also, U.S. Apache attack helicopters have been flying close air support for the NATO troops since yesterday. So in a sense, Americans have been going into Kosovo since yesterday, but this morning, the first American ground troops actually rolled across the border.
Scott, there are estimates that as many as 200,000 Kosovo refugees are without food or starving even. Are relief supplies getting to them?
Charlie, just this morning, the very first heavy convoy of relief supplies crossed the border is a United Nations convoy. About 40 trucks, we're told, carrying 250 tons of food. It's difficult to imagine, Charlie, just how desperate these people are. There are about 200,000 of them, as you said, who were forced from their homes by the Serbs, but never made it to a relief camp. They've been starving in the woods, and reaching those people is among the highest priorities this morning. Charles?
Is there a sense of victory at the White House, that vindication for the President and Secretary of State?
Well, certainly, Charles, there is a sense that the air campaign has worked and that the K4 peacekeeping force is moving in, but the president has said that he won't feel vindicated until they've actually got all of the refugees, about 1 million people, back into their homes, living in a safe environment.
Thank you, Scott Pelley at the White House. Gloria Borger is sitting in for Bob Schieffer on Face the Nation this morning. Good morning, Gloria. What's happening?
Good morning. Well, today we're lucky enough to be able to talk to the Supreme Allied Commander of NATO, General Wesley Clark, about the situation in Kosovo with those Russian troops. Then we're going to move over to presidential politics and see how George W. Bush did on his first trip to Iowa, Charles.
Thank you, Gloria. We will be watching. And coming up here, a postcard from Nebraska, where a golf course has appeared where no one thought it could or would or should. Next on Sunday Morning.